welcome to New Ask Practical Science. I'm Mr Ballaam, and today we're going to be looking at a bit of disruption to food chains and webs. So building up upon that knowledge that we started on, we're going to start to look at some data now and see how the different populations of different species can affect each other. So today what I'm going to be working through today is this activity sheet. It is this one, so it's 9.1.2, changes in the population. Hopefully you'll have a copy of this, it will be uploaded to Teams for you, and you should see the task description at the top here, and then we'll also have a table beneath all this data in, but we'll get into that one in a moment. So first thing I want you to do is to read the task. So it's about halfway down the sheet, there is a task that will give you a bit of the information. So I shall read that one for you as well. Gannets are birds that live on rocky cliffs. They are very effective predators. They dive into the sea and eat a variety of fish. They are extremely well adapted as predators. So even in that first section there's quite a few key terms. So hopefully those key terms are ringing some alarm bells from your previous lessons. So looking in there, you've got the predators in there saying what they eat. So they've got their prey, and saying they're very well adapted to being a predator as well. So some key terms in there that should ring some bells. So the second part of that being, a population of gannets lives on the island of Grasholm off the coast of Wales. So below here we have figures for the gannet population on Grasholm for a period of 18 years. So if I get the full table on there we go. So on the left hand side column here we have the year. So starting at 1995, so before you guys were born, and then going all the way up to 2013, so not too long ago now. So that's in the left hand side column. On the right hand side column here we've got the number of breeding pairs, and then in brackets here we've got thousands. So for example we're saying there that in 1995 there were not just 26 pairs of gannets, it is in thousands. You've got to make sure that you look at the units, look at the title of the column, and it is in the thousands. So that would be 26,000. Likewise in 97 it would be 27,000, so on and so forth. The only one in there slightly different you can do that is 2005. So if you look at that value you've got 32.5, so that would be 32,500 breeding pairs of gannets. So what we're going to do is, with all this information we've got it in a table. However, that's not that easy to kind of look at and kind of spot trends that easily. So what we are going to do is we're going to put that information from the table, we're going to put it into a graph. So ideally you might have some graph paper lying around if you maybe have a maths exercise book, so I know those have the nice little boxes so you can do a very nice graph on there. If not lined paper, plain paper will be very tricky. Ideally if you've got a printer at home you'd be able to print off the activity sheet. I'll show you to the camera here. We do have an activity sheet with a pre-printed graph on there for you, so they have the lines behind, so you can make sure that you are plotting those accurate points. Okay, so with that, if you do need to go and grab some paper to write this down on, to draw this graph, you can pause the video now to give you time to grab maybe from the printer or grab some paper. Otherwise, I've got my copy here on the board. As big as I can. There you go. So on mine, I've got my copy of a graph on the board. So on the y-axis over here, we have the number of breeding pairs, once again in the thousands. And then on the x-axis, on the bottom, we have the year. So once again, starting with 1995 over on the left-hand side, working all the way across to 2013 over on the right-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot all the points that we have in the table. So once again, using this table, we're going to plot those points onto the graph and see if we can spot any sort of trends there. So the way that we're going to plot these points is we're going to go through year by year, so starting at 1995, and then we're going to look on the board for our 1995, so the year that we have, so the year 1995, what was the value in 1995? We're going to check our table. So we go across and it says there was 26,000 breeding pairs, so it would be 26. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go from 1995, I'm going to follow that line all the way up till we get to 26, so 26,000 breeding pairs. So right there, then we're going to put a cross at that point on the graph. So for the next one, I'm going to go down to the next year, so 1997. With that one, we're going to do the exact same thing, but now we do need to be careful reading the year on the bottom, because the scale goes year by year on the scale on the graph. So it goes 1995, 1996, 1997, so on and so on. However, if you look at the table a bit closer, you'll see that the years, you actually have data for every 2 years. So you have it from 1995, and then you have it for 1997. So we're going to skip out the 1996, go straight onto the 1997, and we're going to go up and add in that value of 27,000 birds, or breeding pairs. You can start to see that this value here for 1997 is slightly higher than what we had in 1995. So guys, hopefully you've understood what's going on there in terms of the values. So what I want you to do now, I want you to pause the video, and then you can fill in the rest of the values by yourself. So from 1999 all the way up to 2013, I want you to go along and plot all those points on the graph. And then once you've done that, you can press play and we'll go through some of those trends with you. Okay guys, hopefully you've been able to plot a graph and it looks hopefully something very similar to what I've got here. So going through plotting all those points in the exact place that you need to put them. If your graph slightly looks kind of different to mine, you may have had some trouble plotting the points. One thing that I always find quite helpful to do is to use a ruler when you are plotting the graphs to make sure that your value, for example 2003, is definitely going to be on the 2003 line, because often as you are following a line upwards, your eyes do tend to just swap line and you can easily plot points in the wrong place. So I think if you've got a ruler there, you can 100% certain say this is where that point's meant to be. But hopefully you got a lot of those points in the right place anyway. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to start looking at the actual trend and looking at the figures that you've got here and to see what's happening. So looking to start with in 1995, we're looking at quite a low number of breeding pairs there with 26,000. Once again, remember this is breeding pairs in thousands. So it's not that it's just 26 gannets, there's 26,000, there is a lot of them. So starting off in 1995 at this 26,000 mark. However, when you get to its peak, so you're looking at about 2009, so this value all the way up here, you're reaching the peak value there of 39,000 breeding pairs. So that's quite a big increase, going from 26 up to 39,000 breeding pairs. So what's going on here? Obviously the gannet population is increasing over time. So that's a conclusion that we can draw from this graph. So as we said at the start, with the gannets, they're highly adapted to be able to hunt their prey. So these gannets, these are predators, so they're going to hunt down their prey. So we're told in the task information at the start, where we get a little bit of information about where the gannets are, we also get told that they're extremely well adapted to diving into the sea. So that tells us obviously a large proportion of their diet is going to be fish. So they'll be eating a lot of fish and clearly mating and breeding. That's why these numbers have gone up a large amount. Okay, so the next question that you should be thinking about, I know I'm thinking about it, is why has there been an increase? Why is the number of gannet breeding pairs increasing over time? It's not just going to be a coincidence, there must be a reason behind it, an underlying issue that is causing this increase. Up to 2009, where it does kind of level off a bit. However, this increase from 1995 all the way up to 2009 is quite significant. So looking at that, one possible reason why there might be more and more breeding pairs of these gannets is the availability of food. So for example, if the population of fish has gone up in the area of Grasshome, where these gannets, where they live, where their habitat is, if there's been more and more fish in that area, so maybe humans have been doing less fishing in the area, or more fish have moved into the area, there's going to be a lot more food for those gannets to eat. So if there's more food, there's going to be less competition fighting for that food, so more food for everyone. So obviously with that, it's going to cause that population to have the ability to increase, which we can see here, it has increased quite a lot. Okay, so the second trend that we are going to look at now is the one from 2009 onwards. Obviously we have less data here because we only have 2009, 2011 and 2013 facts and figures to actually look at, compared to the previous set where we had quite a lot of years data. So why now has the gannet population kind of leveled out compared to in the past where it kept on going up? So one reason for that was obviously you're going to have more and more gannets now, so more and more gannets are going to need to eat more and more food. So with that, the amount of food available to them would decrease, because more and more gannets are going to be eating more food, so there's going to be less food to share around throughout all the gannets. So that could possibly be a reason. Another reason may have been some kind of disease that hit the gannets and started killing off or making them a lot weaker. So the gannet population started to fall because they were dying due to disease. Another one that could also be is competition for a lack of space. Obviously, this is on grass home in Wales. If you're having more and more gannets in the same area, it might not be enough space for all of them to actually live there. So some of them may leave the area. Could be a possibility. And a very final reason for that could also be perhaps a new competitor has come into the area and either started eating their fish as well. So a new competitor, that would be another predator that feeds off the same prey, so it would be eating the fish that the gannets want to eat. So now you have two different species competing for just the one prey, so the one food source. So with that, the numbers of each population would start to level off or start to decrease. So obviously you would need more data from 2013 onwards to see how much of an effect any of these factors may have had, but unfortunately we don't have that information. Okay, so we have been looking at today the 9.1.2 changes in population activity sheets. I've been Mr Ballaam. Thank you very much for joining. I hope to see you again on New Maths Practical Science soon.